Welcome to Health 2660. Here we don't just talk about health, we tell the stories that heal. Now please listen to the story. Lana, a graphic designer, barely clinging to the threads of her once vibrant life, existed in a perpetual twilight zone of exhaustion. At 32, she possessed the shadow of the woman she used to be. A woman who bounded out of bed, eager to embrace the day's creative challenges. Now the mornings were a brutal struggle. Each sunrise, a mocking reminder of her depleted energy reserves. The vibrant colors of her designs felt muted, mirroring the grayness that had settled over her own existence. Her apartment, once a sanctuary of creative chaos, was now a reflection of her mental state, cluttered, disorganized, and desperately in need of revitalization. Just like its owner, the simplest tasks felt monumental. A trip to the grocery store left her breathless and overwhelmed. Answering emails felt like climbing a mountain. Even the joy she once found in connecting with friends had faded, replaced by a gnawing desire to withdraw from the world and simply rest. But rest eluded her sleep. That fundamental human need had become a cruel mistress. She would toss and turn for hours, her mind racing with anxious thoughts, replaying past conversations, and catastrophizing about the future. When she finally drifted off, it was a fitful, unsatisfying slumber, punctuated by frequent awakenings and a persistent feeling of unease. She'd often wake up at 2:00 a.m., wide awake, and wired her heart pounding in her chest as if she'd just run a marathon in her sleep. The irony was almost unbearable. She was exhausted, yet utterly unable to find true rest. Her forgetfulness was becoming increasingly alarming. She'd misplace her keys, forget appointments, and struggle to recall the names of people she'd known for years. Her brain felt like a dial-up modem in a fiber optic world, slow, sluggish, and constantly buffering. This cognitive fog was particularly devastating to her work. She struggled to focus, to generate new ideas, and to meet deadlines. Her passion for graphic design, once the driving force in her life, had dwindled to a flickering ember. Each project felt like a Herculean task, a constant battle against her own mental fatigue. She felt like a fraud, a pale imitation of the talented designer she once was. Emotionally, Lana was numb. She felt detached from the world, disconnected from her own feelings. The joys and sorrows of life seemed to pass her by, leaving her untouched, unmoved. She longed to feel something. Anything but her emotional well was dry. She missed the sharp pang of sadness, the soaring heights of joy, even the simple comfort of contentment. Instead, she was trapped in a monotonous landscape of emotional neutrality, a vast and empty space where nothing seemed to matter. Desperate for answers, Lana had embarked on a relentless quest to find a solution to her debilitating fatigue. She had consulted numerous doctors, endured countless blood tests, and subjected herself to a battery of medical examinations. The results were always the same. Everything is normal. You're perfectly healthy. Maybe you're just stressed. These pronouncements were maddening. They invalidated her experience, made her feel like she was imagining her symptoms, that she was somehow responsible for her own suffering. She tried everything the doctor suggested: multivitamins, regular exercise, a balanced diet. She chugged coffee in the morning to jolt herself awake and drank green smoothies in the afternoon in a desperate attempt to nourish her depleted body. She forced herself to go to the gym, pushing her exhausted body through grueling workouts, hoping to sweat out the fatigue and reignite her energy. But nothing worked. The multivitamins did nothing to lift the fog in her brain. The coffee provided a temporary buzz, followed by an inevitable crash that left her feeling even worse than before. The green smoothies tasted like blended grass and did little to improve her energy levels, and the exercise, instead of invigorating her, only served to deepen her exhaustion. She felt trapped in a vicious cycle, endlessly chasing a solution that remained perpetually out of reach. One night, fueled by desperation and insomnia, Lana found herself spiraling down a YouTube rabbit hole. She had been searching for anything, any glimmer of hope, any potential explanation for her relentless fatigue. She stumbled upon a video with a provocative title, "The Real Reason You're Always Tired." Intrigued, she clicked on the video, half expecting it to be another empty promise, another dead end in her search for answers. But as she listened to the speaker, a woman with a calm and reassuring voice, something resonated deep within her. The video discussed a condition called adrenal fatigue, a term she had never heard before. It explained how chronic stress, the kind that Lana had been experiencing for years, could wreak havoc on the adrenal glands, the small but vital organs responsible for producing hormones that regulate stress response energy levels and immune function. The speaker explained that when the body is under constant stress, the adrenal glands are forced to produce excessive amounts of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. This chronic elevation of cortisol can disrupt the body's delicate hormonal balance, leading to a cascade of negative effects, including fatigue, insomnia, brain fog, and emotional instability. The video went on to explain how long-term cortisol elevation forces the body to constantly burn glucose for energy-depleting vital nutrients, and keeping the body in a state of perpetual survival mode rather than rest and recovery. It described the role of the amygdala, the brain's fear center, in triggering the stress response, and how chronic fear and anxiety can keep the adrenal glands in a constant state of overdrive. The speaker also discussed the cortisol crash, the inevitable consequence of prolonged cortisol elevation, which can leave individuals feeling even more exhausted and depleted than before. The video then delved into the potential role of post-viral fatigue in chronic fatigue syndrome, explaining how viral infections such as COVID-19 can trigger a prolonged inflammatory response that can damage the adrenal glands and other vital organs. Lana felt a jolt of recognition. She had contracted COVID-19 a year ago, and she had never felt the same since. The fatigue, the brain fog, the insomnia, all of these symptoms had emerged or worsened after her illness. Could this be the missing piece of the puzzle? The video continued by discussing the potential role of vitamin deficiencies in chronic fatigue. It highlighted the importance of vitamin B1 thiamine and vitamin D3 for energy production, cognitive function, and immune health. Lana realized that she had been neglecting her nutritional needs for years. Her diet consisted primarily of quick carbs, processed foods, and sugary snacks, a far cry from the nutrient-rich diet her body desperately needed. The video also touched on the connection between insulin resistance, high-carb diets, and brain fog. It explained how excessive consumption of carbohydrates can lead to insulin resistance, a condition in which the body's cells become less responsive to insulin, the hormone that regulates blood sugar levels. Insulin resistance can disrupt brain function, leading to cognitive impairment, memory problems, and that dreaded brain fog. Finally, the video discussed the importance of gut health for overall well-being and energy levels. It explained how low stomach acid can prevent the absorption of vital nutrients such as vitamin B12 and iron, which are essential for energy production and cognitive function. It also highlighted the potential role of antibiotics in disrupting the gut microbiome, the complex community of bacteria that resides in the digestive tract. Lana shuddered as she reflected on her own history of antibiotic use. She had taken antibiotics 3 times in the past 2 years, each time for a minor infection that she could have likely fought off with rest and natural remedies. As Lana listened to the video, everything clicked into place. It was as if a light bulb had suddenly illuminated the dark corners of her mind. She realized that her chronic fatigue was not just stress, as the doctors had suggested. It was a complex interplay of factors, including chronic stress, post-viral fatigue, vitamin deficiencies, insulin resistance, and gut dysbiosis. It was her body screaming for help, desperately trying to cope with the overwhelming demands she had placed upon it. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Lana resolved to take control of her health and rebuild herself from the inside out. She knew it wouldn't be easy. It would require a complete overhaul of her lifestyle, her diet, and her mindset. But she was determined to reclaim her life, to regain her energy, and to rediscover the joy that had been stolen from her by chronic fatigue. The first step was to change her diet. Lana knew that she had to break her addiction to quick carbs and processed foods and embrace a more nourishing and sustainable way of eating. She decided to adopt a low-carb, high-vegetable, high-fat diet, focusing on whole, unprocessed foods that would provide her body with the nutrients it needed to heal and thrive. She started her day with a protein-rich breakfast of eggs and avocado, followed by a lunch of leafy green vegetables and grilled chicken or fish. For dinner, she opted for healthy fats such as olive oil, nuts, and seeds, combined with lean protein and a variety of colorful vegetables. She eliminated sugary drinks, processed snacks, and refined carbohydrates from her diet, replacing them with water, herbal teas, and whole food alternatives. The transition was challenging at first. She experienced cravings for sugary treats and carbohydrate-rich comfort foods, but she persevered, reminding herself of the reasons why she had embarked on this journey in the first place. She focused on the positive changes she was starting to experience: increased energy levels, improved mental clarity, and a sense of overall well-being. The second step was to address her vitamin deficiencies. Lana researched the best ways to supplement her diet with vitamin B1, vitamin D3, zinc, and magnesium, all of which are essential for energy production, cognitive function, and immune health. She learned that nutritional yeast is an excellent source of vitamin B1, and she began adding it to her meals on a regular basis. She also started taking a daily vitamin D3 supplement, especially during the winter months when sunlight exposure is limited. She added zinc and magnesium supplements to her daily routine, ensuring that she was getting adequate amounts of these vital minerals. In addition to vitamin and mineral supplements, Lana also began taking steps to improve her gut health. She had learned that low stomach acid can prevent the absorption of vital nutrients, and she decided to try drinking apple cider vinegar before meals to increase her stomach acid levels. She also started taking betaine HCl supplements, a natural compound that can help to improve digestion and nutrient absorption. Furthermore, Lana made a conscious effort to repopulate her gut microbiome with beneficial bacteria. She started eating fermented foods such as sauerkraut, kimchi, and yogurt, which are rich in probiotics. the friendly bacteria that promote gut health. She also took a daily probiotic supplement to ensure that she was getting a wide variety of beneficial bacteria. The third step was to prioritize stress management. Lana realized that chronic stress had been a major contributing factor to her adrenal fatigue, and she knew that she had to find ways to reduce her stress levels and promote relaxation. She started practicing mindfulness meditation on a daily basis, focusing on her breath and gently guiding her attention back to the present moment whenever her mind wandered. She also started spending more time in nature, walking in the morning sun for natural melatonin and circadian reset. She found that the fresh air, the sunlight, and the beauty of the natural world had a calming and restorative effect on her mind and body. Furthermore, Lana decided to re-evaluate her exercise routine. She realized that her intense workouts at the gym were actually exacerbating her fatigue. Rather than alleviating it, she replaced gym guilt with calming physical work, such as gardening and decluttering. She found that these activities were not only less stressful on her body, but also more enjoyable and fulfilling. Slowly, but surely, things began to change. Lana started sleeping deeper and longer. Her thoughts felt sharper and clearer. Her mood stabilized, and she began to experience moments of joy and laughter again. It wasn't an instant transformation. There were setbacks and challenges along the way, but the progress was real, and it was undeniable. She felt like she was finally waking up from a long and debilitating nightmare. One day, Lana sat down at her computer and opened her design software. She had been avoiding her work for months, dreading the thought of facing the creative challenges that had once filled her with excitement. But this time, something was different. As she stared at the blank screen, she felt a spark of inspiration, a flicker of creativity that had been dormant for far too long. Ideas began to flow, colors began to emerge, and her fingers danced across the keyboard with newfound energy and enthusiasm. She worked for hours, lost in the creative process, completely forgetting about her fatigue and her struggles. When she finally looked up, she was astonished to see that the sun had already set. She had created something beautiful, something meaningful, something that she was truly proud of. In that moment, Lana realized that she had finally turned a corner. She had reclaimed her health, her energy, and her passion for life. She had learned a valuable lesson about the importance of listening to her body, of prioritizing her well-being, and of taking control of her own healing journey. Health 2660. Thanks you for listening. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, be kind to yourself.